My name's Rob MacArthur from the CBD Curators. My sobriety date is June 6th of 2000. I've been saying that for the last 20 years. I'm very proud of the fact that I am no longer abusing drugs and alcohol. However, I did want to talk to you a little bit about using CBD in recovery. I have not seen any information, any discussion out of the rehabs or people in the industry about the use of CBD for people in recovery. I can tell you the following. CBD is not addictive. CBD does not inebriate you. You do not build up a tolerance to it. You do not build up a craving for it. However, it's very strong for pain, anxiety, stress, sleep, and about 100 other things. One of the problems with being in recovery is that it's very strict about pain medication, for example. People in recovery are very, very concerned about taking anything that might trigger a substance abuse event, a relapse. So naturally, when I found CBD, I was very concerned about whether or not I should be using CBD at all. And I will tell you that I was in an extreme amount of pain from the 3 surgeries that I've had. And I have had to take opiates in sobriety. And I will tell you that that is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to have to do. Because whether you want to or not, the opiates are addictive. If your intention is great, somebody else is dispensing them for you, you're not abusing them, you can still get addicted. You will get addicted. So there comes a time when you are not sure if you are reaching for the medication for pain or because there's an inebriating effect to it. And that's a horrible thing to have to reconcile for someone in recovery. Did I just pick up a substance and have to change my sobriety date? And I went through a lot of pain and a lot of guilt taking opiates that I felt like I absolutely had to take because I was in so much pain. I got to the point where I was preferring death to being in pain. That's how much pain I was in. And then I found CBD. And I was very concerned about CBD getting me high. In fact, I got a medical marijuana license about 4 years ago, and I really didn't give CBD a chance to work because I did get some products from the dispensary that made me feel inebriated enough that I felt like maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Now, I'm sure that was my system being overly sensitive to the trace amount of THC. Certainly not having had any THC in my system since I was 20-ish. So let's call it 30 years. So I avoided CBD and avoided using my medical marijuana license because I felt guilty. I felt guiltier than I felt guilty using the opiates. And unfortunately, I prolonged the amount of pain that I was in, and there was nothing that I could do about it. And then I tried CBD again in January of 2019, and I found that it helped me quite a bit. There were times when I felt a very small amount of inebriation, and I couldn't tell if that was from CBD, and that's just how it feels, or if it was from the THC that ran the risk of making me feel inebriated. And I've come to the conclusion, after using CBD every day since then, that I am not using it as a way of escaping, that I'm not using it as a relapse, that I'm not using it to go to another drug. So either I'm sitting here and I'm in denial and I'm actually in a relapse because I use CBD, or I found a very prudent alternative to feeling guilty using opiates instead. So to me, people in recovery are in a very difficult quandary if they have other issues: depression, severe anxiety, unresolved trauma. You name it. People in recovery have it just like the general population. But the general population doesn't have to worry about getting addicted to absolutely freaking everything, which is how it feels when you're in recovery. Because you have that natural addictive personality: speeding, gambling, sex, spending money, eating, you name it, you can switch from alcohol to drugs to any of those other things and go down the rabbit hole of lying, manipulation, drug seeking, and other behaviors that are generally very distasteful, especially once you've got some time under your belt, as we say, a long period of time in sobriety where you should basically know better. So CBD is not approved by the FDA, and no one has come out in the recovery community and said anything about CBD. CBD is actually used to get off of opiates or cigarettes or other addictive behavior, that it actually reduces the rush of whatever brain chemical it is, probably dopamine, and you don't feel that rush as much. At the same time, CBD is, for all intents and purposes, an antidepressant. It provides a stimulation of those happy chemicals in your brain. Then it should be addictive, but it's not. And I have a hard time talking about this, I must say. I usually don't have a hard time talking, because in the store where I am now, I'm very forthcoming with people about my history, because I feel like it's worth it as a person in recovery to practice the 12 steps, except I'm not just 12-stepping recovery, but pain, anxiety, depression, bipolar, PTSD, whatever, you name it. So I think it's very important for someone from the recovery community to speak out loud and honestly about using CBD. Because a lot of people in recovery don't get help that they need because they're too afraid to take things that might cause them to relapse. I've been taking CBD now for 1.5 years on a daily basis, and there is no proclivity to relapse that I'm aware of. This is very difficult to talk about, very personal.